we're trying to do everything we can to support families.
Awesome. No, thank you. And I just want to reiterate, so most families will be going in person.
Yes.
There will be extenuating circumstances that require independent study, and you guys are going to work on that policy and figure that out and get that out to parents on Monday. So if you're one of those parents that are just wanting to know what independent study is going to look like for your child, Monday they will put out the answer for that. Yeah. For the rest of us, myself included, my kids will be coming in person day one, and we'll go forward that way. And that answers like one of the biggest questions. Then another question with independent study, if you're in need of that, we had already kind of went through this with our technical difficulties, but you can participate in extracurricular activities,
yes,
sports, and things like that.
Yeah,
right?
You are 100% a student of the school, no matter which of those two that you're enrolled in. So again, and this especially comes true in high school, it seems. So if you want to participate in a particular program, you can do so, being on independent study. It doesn't exclude you from that. We also always get very creative when it comes to things like field trips for younger students and things like that. We've worked with parents and come up with solutions. I don't think we've ever left anybody behind on any of those.
So, and this might be I don't want to throw it up as a trick question, but independent study as it relates to dual enrollment or the community college credits that you can do, how does that play?
So that's one of the things that we're exploring, okay. And I don't want to be premature. I am confident that we would still be able to offer all of the courses that are offered. So just because you're on independent study does not mean that you would be excluded from coursework. It is the way that you get access to it.
Right.
It could be different, but that is part of the legislation as well, which is something that all school districts are climbing through, because there is a requirement that you offer all programs to all students, regardless. So how we are able to do that is something that we're working on right now.
Gotcha. And since distance learning is going away, we won't be doing that. Last year we issued Chromebooks,
yes.
Right? Because we knew there was a requirement. Is that still going to be an issue to the students?
Trevor, you want to speak to that one?
Absolutely. So Chromebooks, we are one-to-one in this district now.
Awesome.
So the way we run the Chromebooks, at the elementary level, the Chromebooks stay for the most part in the classroom. So there is a classroom set assigned to every teacher. In the interest of sanitation and accountability, every student actually has a Chromebook that's checked out to them in that cart. So every day, Johnny will go and he'll grab Chromebook 4 in that cart, and that's his Chromebook for the year. At the high school level, they actually have the option of bringing it home. And so they have a period where they can leave the Chromebook there for the day if they wish, and they don't have a use for it, but if they want that technology at home or need it, they're able to bring it home. We do ask, there is an agreement that must be signed. We really need parents and families to be very responsible. I will say, sadly, last year we had a significant amount of damage. About 10% of the Chromebooks returned to us were damaged, destroyed, mangled, stickers, adhesives. So please, please, please be respectful of that district technology. It's not something that's easy to obtain. Right now, we're trying to get more replacement Chromebooks, and I don't have ETAs because right now technology is very, very limited. So every time we lose a Chromebook, that might be one student that's now going to have to go to an older Chromebook that's not up to date, maybe isn't as versatile. So we really need parents and families to be very, very responsible with this. Again, that's one of the reasons we let the high schoolers leave them at school. There are very much some who are aware and say, I spill on everything, and they don't need to bring it home, and they can leave it at school, so they don't have to worry about that or worry about the little sibling that's going to take it and try and play Roblox on it. So we are still in one-to-one. We will maintain that. Our intent as a district is to never go away from that. The world has moved much more rapidly to digital curriculum than we'd ever expected over the last few years, and it's unlikely that we'll walk that back.
And we've seen that Chromebook has far more value than just, I'm attending my class at home and I want to tune in. So our curriculum is tied much more heavily into technology.
Right.
And we've even, we have put in place ways so that at the high school, Classes that traditionally have been offered maybe at one high school that isn't offered at another, and someone wants to do that, we have been working diligently to see how we can connect kids up across the district. And so you can use that technology to attend a class that normally you may not have access to.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, we're really trying to maximize the potential of the technology we've added in. That's
Now,
not going away.
will it be a required you use the school's Chromebook, or what if a kid already has a Chromebook?
At home, you're welcome to use whatever device. We're not forcing it. There might be some requirements, say if you are on independent study for things like testing, where we may require you to use that device so we can ensure that the environment's secure and the student's not cheating. In class, we would recommend use our district devices. I know some families, some kids have even an Apple or something. And that's cool and that's great. They have an iPad, but our teachers are trained, our program and software is all set up to operate on those Chromebooks, so they could stay home, they can work with them. Almost pretty much, I think all of the products we use are very compatible across all devices, so they can go home, use their own personal device, and then when they come to school, use those Chromebooks.
Yeah, and it's all saved on like the cloud or whatever.
It's all in the
anymore,
cloud,
so-
yeah.
It is, and assessment-wise, kids are very savvy, and we have the capability of being able to monitor what they see as well, and what they share with each other. And that's an important thing for us to ensure that students are only seeing things that are appropriate. And also, if you're at our school, I can tell you, if somebody steals that great brand new iPad that mom and dad bought you,
Yeah.
that's on you. Or if you drop it at school or you spill on it, I find the politest, kindest way I can to say, I'm so sorry, but that was your choice to do that, and I hate to see that Christmas present or that thing they saved up for so long be broken when, if you break our Chromebook, that's much easier for us to deal with
Right.
than your own personal belongings.
Absolutely. So I know another big question, unless you have something burning, I'll skip right to the before and after school stuff.
No, please go ahead.
Okay.
A little bit random on the questions over here.
Yeah, so I know the other big question that a lot of people are tuning in are concerned about, and I have in the audience here the school age annex and the CDC. So I have phone a friend in the audience that can help me as I talk through the before and after school program. So right now, and I'm gonna look over here as I say this. Right now, the school age annex is at capacity, save a few, and they'll work through that. They're at capacity, and it's not a COVID capacity. We're not reducing capacity in classrooms because of COVID. It is a staffing capacity. Okay, so as more staff comes on board, we will be able to open up more slots. Well, I don't know about you, but if I have somebody working around my kid, I want them to have the full background check and everything. That kind of stuff takes a while to get through. So we have two, right, that are gonna be, they through all that piece, now they just got some training to do, and they'll get started. So that's two more faculty that'll be coming on, three more faculty that'll be coming on. So that could increase, I don't know by how much our numbers, but it could increase a little bit into some of the classrooms. Now, we have 9 in the chute, ready to go through the whole background check and everything like that, and that will take, and it could be up to those folks on how quickly they get their paperwork in, and then whatever delays they hit with the background check. But that is a necessary piece that we don't control on how long that background check takes. And it has to happen before we put them with one of your kids. So, and I hope you understand that, but hopefully the message gets out. This is not a COVID capacity issue. It is a staffing capacity issue. Okay, there is a waiting list. If you're on that waiting list, a couple of the questions are, the school age annex can't tell you what spot you're in exactly on that waiting list and how long it might be for you to wait to get in.
And we can tell you exactly where you're at, but we can't tell you where that cut line is.
Right.
Because you're number 12 today doesn't mean you're safe tomorrow.
Because it could change.
Yes, because if you're in a B category and down, you'll get bumped by an A category and so on and so forth.
Exactly,
Yes, sir.
because of the priorities.
Got that right? Make sure. Okay.
Yeah, so the DOD set the priorities, not us. right? And so if you go on to militarychildcare.com, you can see everything spelled out there. And if you're in priority 2 and a priority 1A or 1 Bravo comes in and needs care, unfortunately priority 2 will get bumped down further the list. I wish there was a better explanation for that, but as we get more staffing, I am confident if we could ever get up to full capacity staffing, we could take care of all the child care needs that this space has. Right now, we're just not there. And we've held a hiring fair, so that's where we got the 12 bodies that are coming. And so if you're out there watching and you're interested in working with kids, they're hiring. So come on over and see how you put in an application, and we'll get you started on that. What else, Chief, did I miss on that piece?
No, I think you got the piece.
Staffing, okay. We'll look, our folks really want to take care of your kids, so we'll work through that list as best we can and look for all avenues to increase the capacity and take on more kids if we can. But as staffing ebbs and flows, so does the amount of kids that we can take on. But they're doing a really bang-up job trying to get folks in. So, what's the alternative? And that's the next question that I'm getting. Is the school going to offer any sort of before and after school care? And so for that, I'll turn it over to you guys.
So I'll say a few opening comments, and then I'm going to ask Trevor to speak to this a little bit. But in the past, as a school district, we have tried to not do anything that would compete with anything else that Edwards is providing.
Right.
And we're all a team in this. We have offered after-school programs. They've been tied to education, obviously. But in the capacity that we've been discussing in the past, we've never had. So it is something that we have become aware of as well. I know we've had conversations about this several times, and it is something that we are absolutely exploring, ways that we can help families find kind of a relief valve, so to speak.
Right.
At least until better capacity, or greater capacity can be found in traditional methods here at Edwards. So, Trevor, what am I missing on this? You want to talk about the summer program a touch or anything?
Absolutely. We did offer a summer program, so we had the same concern and need. I think during summer, it's more flexible for a lot of families. There's probably more options and opportunities. Once the school year starts, obviously that kind of tightens up. There's not as many opportunities out there. As part of our survey, and I will be honest in saying, I realize as I'm reading the responses live right now, we probably needed to be a little more clear on some of the things so that we will most likely send a follow-up survey to those who express some interest in childcare. The district will be working on, and we plan to try and operate an after-school program. Before school is a little bit harder for our district, and something we'll still consider and look into. At the moment, we can't say this is our program, this is what we're doing. While we have been tracking it, obviously we partner. And for us, with Edwards, our goal is if somebody is doing something well, we don't have any reason to get in that game. We don't want to. We want to focus our time and energy where someone else, where Edwards doesn't do something, say running schools, which is what we do. Obviously, there's that need this year, so we will be looking to spool up those programs. We will most likely by Monday have a good detailed plan. We're spinning it up now. It'll be probably modeled very similar to how the summer program ran. We would look, depending on the skill sets of those, we would probably try and stay more school focused. It is what we do. How that looks exactly, I don't know, but I can say my inclination is to try and push towards more school-focused activities and enrichments and STEM and things of that nature, so the kids are not just sitting there. That is what we want to make sure we're doing. And again, I would just say if you're expressing interest on this form, we did ask for your email. It is not because we're going to come track you or hunt you down. It's because it is a good way to reach out to people rapidly, and especially in instances like this where we need it. What I do say is that we do follow up with a secondary survey. And again, there's a survey online right now. Please go fill it out. It's on Facebook, all that. It gives us that first step so we can begin building our plan. But if we do follow up with that survey and you do say, yes, I'm interested, please make sure you truly are. Well, I will say one thing over the summer, we did start a program. We in a few weeks, we spooled up a program because we had a lot of families say, I will be there, I need it. And really only had about 15 to 20% of those that said, I will be there, show up. So please take a minute. Time is absolutely of the essence, but take a minute, slow down, and make sure that you do or don't need it. Because for us, on the timelines we're on to build this program, we won't have a lot of flexibility to ramp up or ramp down. We'll need to be pretty much hit the ground running. So we need really accurate information. So when you respond, if we send that secondary survey, which I suspect we will since I'm saying we're going to now and staring at the person that's going to probably start it right now, when we send that, please take that moment and be really confident and really sure. The other thing I can say is at this time, there will most likely be a cost component. It is not our intent to come in and offer just a free program. It has a cost to us, and sadly, because of the demographics of Edwards, we receive no funding to run before and after school programs. The state, the way the state works and the way the metrics work, we are not, this base is not identified as a location that is seen as needing that type of program. So for us, it will run at a cost, and that we would have to pass that cost along. So just be planned and prepared. Very similar, probably a similar idea to how the summer program ran. I think that hits all the major points, and we'll give you more once we know more and the plan's better developed.
So we're really sensitive to the fact that there are families today sitting at home saying, all right, it is Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday. Is it Wednesday, ladies? Mm-hmm. Perfect. It's Wednesday. A lot of the school districts in the Antelope Valley have opened in the last day or two, or will open tomorrow. And by next week, I think all of them are. And so we recognize there's a number of families saying, I've got to figure out my childcare options to know where I'm going to send my children to school. So if it was as easy for us to come here this evening and just say, we've got it covered, turn it on and we're ready to go, we would love to say that. We have to go back and do a little bit of homework because, believe it or not, we can educate your children all day long. You can give them to us and we can do that. But once it turns into just straight up child care, it's a whole nother set of rules that apply and regulations that kick in. If we say that it's got enrichment to it and it's an educational program, well, that's very easy to do. But we also, while everybody's ramping down their summer, we have to find out what is the number of people that would potentially want this so we know what our staffing needs would be, reach out and try to find people where it would work in their schedules, and also go through on the pricing side and make sure that we follow the laws that apply to us. So we are diligently working on this while simultaneously working on getting school open for everyone and reading all the latest and greatest legislation as it gets dumped on us at the last second, quite honestly. But this is a piece that has now become front burner for us.
Right.
We recognize that it is a concern for a number of families, and we wish to partner on this greatly.
And I appreciate it. As Trevor talked about, I came to them kind of in a panic because we were getting, Chief and I were getting complaints that there was no availability of childcare over the summer for this because they were full. And so they graciously started a summer program. Unfortunately, it wasn't used to what we thought was the demand. So just to reiterate to what Trevor said, if you're going to request that from the school, please be ready to utilize that. Another option that Candace, our school liaison coordinator, just dropped to me is the youth programs. So the youth center is over behind the bowling alley. They have some capacity, but it's a specific age group, so it won't.
12.
Excuse me?
9 to 12.
So here it says 9 to 18.
Oh, well, that's teen center too.
Yeah, so including the teen center, but I don't know that many parents of teens are all that concerned about childcare. But yes, 9 to 12 is probably our demographic that they're worried about. They have a program, school year membership, and they will save on youth sports, dances, field trips, and more. So go check them out, give them a call. Unfortunately, the number is not on this flyer, Candace.
275-5436.
275
5437.
5437. Give them a call if you're interested in that. And that's, I know a lot of folks aren't going to fall into this category because it's a small age group, but that's only after school as well, so it's not a before school program.
But anybody that's on the wait list, I'm sorry to jump in, but anybody that's on our wait list, if they're 9 and 12 and they're needing the care in the afternoon, that is another option for them to try to get their children in, so maybe that will eliminate some of their stress as well.
Yeah. So what was just relayed, if your kids are 9 to 12 and you only need after school, perhaps this is an option for you versus the before and after school over at the school age annex.
And that does hit a good point for us. Any program we offer will be elementary. We will not extend any after school and before school program to any grades above 6. So we would do TK through 6. We would not be building a program for 7 through 12 based on there's not a lot of need, and that's not where we want to focus our limited resources.
Right. Okay, Chief, I know you got some questions already. I have some too, so let's see if we can coordinate here and if you want to go forward and ask.
Sure, we can go for some.
All right.
Now, some of these may be a little bit repetitive of some of the information we've already covered because we've been speaking for a minute now,
Sure.
and some are still flowing in. And so I don't know if we said it the way that the people on the other end of that screen are receiving it. I don't think this is one of them, though. I'm just warning you ahead of time.
Okay.
Some California rumors are floating around that school-age children will be required to get COVID tests. Some are saying these may be required on a weekly basis. Will our children be required to get routine or any kind of COVID testing? If yes, can we opt to continue online school, avoiding unnecessary COVID testing? So I know you answered a little bit of that earlier, saying, hey, we won't know until Monday exactly what our model is going to look like, correct?
Correct.
But once we do go back, and those choose to go back in person, with the Delta variant, I think we have a lot of folks out there, especially when you hear the civilian sector saying, hey, we'll probably make some folks that work for DoD test regularly.
Right.
What's your guys' stance on that, and how are you going to approach it?
So first let me talk about vaccinations, because sometimes the word vaccine and test get intermingled.
Correct.
So there is no requirement from the state of California that students be vaccinated at this point. Could there be in the future? Anything's possible, but right now there is no requirement that they be vaccinated. And once they come onto campus, whether they are vaccinated or not, they do not get treated any differently. There is a new mask requirement, so let me just go ahead and throw this out there now so everyone knows. For all students, anytime that they're inside, they wear a mask. The spacing is the traditional spacing. We're kind of back to where we're not 6 feet apart from one another or 4 feet apart, but masks are required. Once they go outdoors, they are allowed, if they would like, to remove their mask. Indoors, while they're eating, we will spread them out a little bit more because we know they're going to take their masks off to eat, but yet they're inside. So that's kind of that middle ground area. All adults will wear masks at all times indoors if there's a child present. So if there's a group of teachers working in the teacher's lounge and there's no students present, you may see, if you come into the office, that the adults had their masks off, but they should put them on if a child walks in.
Sure.
And then outside, they can remove their masks as well. So that's to that piece. We do have rapid tests. We have a lot of rapid tests. And I'm going to let Mr. Tan speak to that here in just a moment. But I just want everyone to know that if and when we get to a point that we need to administer a test, I know I've had the one where it goes all the way up your cranium and it feels like they're tickling
Got that
you.
this morning. That was
Oh,
awesome.
that's
Yes,
painful.
it was a great morning for me.
Yeah, that's not what we do. Okay, we have the rapid ones, which are the quick swab and have a faster return time. But I'll let him speak to that. And as far as flexibility for someone that just says, I absolutely refuse to follow, like if that were to be law and you just don't want to do it, then yeah, you'll talk with us. Again, we're into an extenuating circumstance. Just know that at the end of the day, we do have to follow whatever the law is. So Brent, could you talk a little bit more, because you can do it way better than me on
No,
on
I
these
think you
items.
just did fine. So we've been working in conjunction with California Department of Public Health. And what we've been able to do, and we piloted a bit last school year in regards to rapid testing. We are slowly building up our capacity. We've piloted last year in regards to being able to test symptomatic staff. However, for this year, we're looking to ramp up and be able to test staff as well as any symptomatic students with rapid test. And as Kevin has mentioned, this is the rapid test. This is not the swab that goes all the way up and it's extremely uncomfortable. This is one basically you swab both nostrils, you put it in the solution, and you should have results within 20 minutes. So that's currently what we have. As of right now, we have enough to sustain us. We have about 1,700 rapid tests ready to go. We have medical staff that is trained. They had to go through multiple trainings with California Department of Public Health. They also had to go through competency training and things like that. So we're able to test immediately in regards to the rapid tests.
And Chief, we don't test any, I hope parents understand, we do not test children without consent.
Correct.
So if there's a concern, we have filmed this in the past, we have videos up about this, but we have quarantine rooms at all schools. So if we felt like there was a concern, we can quarantine them.
Right.
We immediately call the parent, and now we are able to say, if you would like, you can go down to the health clinic all day long and see what kind of a test you get, or if you would like, free of charge, we can do a rapid test for you with someone that's trained to do so. We have, in the past, our district has struggled with finding qualified nurses. To be a nurse in California and be a school nurse, you have to have not only your RN, but you have to have a 4-year college degree. And a lot of people in the nursing field don't necessarily go that far because you don't need to in order to do nursing, and it doesn't necessarily increase your pay. In fact, if you go into school nursing, you're going to take a pay cut, almost guaranteed. It does not pay like a hospital. But we were able to strong arm someone into coming on full time who actually has trauma experience and worked in a COVID unit even, and has almost 20 years of experience. Her last name is Tan as well, and Brent knows her pretty well. She came on last year, and then we have also hired an additional full-time nurse. And thankfully that actually came from someone that was a nurse here before with us, is military dependent, came back to Edwards, and we were able to snatch them back up. And then we have also increased the number of health aides that are on the campuses that have all been trained. So we've taken the medical side of this and really ramped it up to where in the past, honestly, the best that we could ever find was about a part-time nurse and some health aides, like one that was shared at Edwards sites and one that was shared over in Boron. Now everyone has somebody, and we've doubled our nurse capacity full-time. So
if I can just answer the question I think we've almost answered, and I'll double check, I'll stare at Brent. As of now, so there is no requirement for vaccine. There's no requirements for anyone to get vaccinated. There is also not a requirement that you be tested.
Correct.
So as a student, if you are symptomatic, you will obviously go home. We will offer to test your student with a rapid test. Information is helpful. If you do not want that, you want to take them somewhere else, or you don't want the test, we will ask your permission before we administer that test, and you can say no. And saying no does not mean you're now immediately kicked out to independent study or anything like that. You're just quarantining and following that process, which at the moment is defined. We'll see in a couple weeks what the timelines are for quarantine. But saying no to the test there will be no adverse punishment for that. There will simply be potentially a slightly different quarantine period, and that's it.
you'll be homesick, and you'll work with your teacher or teachers to get the work back and forth, just like you would if you had the flu or anything else. So
yeah, let me jump on that symptomatic piece, because that's a topic we've had an issue with here, with members coming to work feeling a little ill. All right, we did not revert at any time back to before where, oh, it's a tummy ache, you can survive school, right? You're not going to send your kid with any sort of symptoms to school to potentially spread to other kids. So I'd ask parents, just like we ask ourselves, if they feel ill, then they need to stay home so that they don't potentially spread to teachers or other students, right? Because we definitely don't want to shut down a couple classrooms and the like. So,
Absolutely.
We've had that issue on the military side. Hope we can get better on the children's side and keep our kids home.
Thank you. And to that end, just so that everyone understands, on that first day of school, what is it physically going to look like? I'm sure somebody wants to know that. Last year you came through designated checkpoints. We did a temperature check and asked essentially any symptoms, and then they came through. There's no more requirement for the temperature check itself at a gate. So what we'll do is, as parents and or students come up, you'll still come through designated areas, and we will ask you, if you're with your parent, if the parent is there, we'll ask, does your child have any COVID type symptoms? If everything is good, come on in. If they have symptoms, we'd hope that you didn't come to the gate to tell us that, yes, they have a temperature and their tummy is sick and they can't smell or taste anything. We would hope that you wouldn't do that. But if a student comes, maybe they're older, high school age, or they come without a parent, we'll ask the student themselves. And then we have always administered temperature checks for anyone throughout the day. Like last year, we didn't just check your temperature once. If you looked symptomatic, if you came to us and said, I have a tummy ache, we took you to the nurse's station. That's the first thing we do, is we check your temperature. So I just want you to know that it will be a little more streamlined to get people into school in the mornings that way. We're not negating the importance of that, but we know that parents are responsible, and we're going to ask them to please do that check yourself at home for your child. And as you bring them through, we're going to double check with you just to make sure that they are feeling well, and then they're welcome to come in and have a great school day.
Awesome.
Okay, so we don't have as, we'll take us all the time we need, but since we started a little bit late, we're going to go into a little bit more like a new soundbite rapid round. Speaking of rapid testing,
You
we'll
got
do
it.
rapid answers a little bit
Here we go,
more.
rapid.
We'll
I'll be
try to
quiet.
be just a little bit more concise. So we can get to, we have a lot of questions
Chief, you know
to
I'm
get
bad
to.
at this. I'll do it. Here
Yeah, we got to do that. So what we're going to do, okay, so say one of the students gets COVID, they test positive for COVID.
Yes.
What does that look like for them? Like, how do we take care of them at that point? Do we send schoolwork home with somebody? Do we let them know what their assignments are? Assuming, of course, that they have gone in person to class.
Yes, if they're COVID, if they show symptoms, we take them to the health room, we contact parent, we send home if needed, and if so, we immediately start treating them as if they were sick.
Sure, but if they test positive,
If they
then
test
yeah,
positive?
then what do we do from there?
Brett?
In regards to if they test positive and things like that, what we automatically do is we work in conjunction with Kern County Department of Public Health. And as of right now, there are different quarantine procedures in regards to, were the students masked, were they unmasked? Even for adults and things like that, they have different routes. Where are they vaccinated? Are they unvaccinated? So what we really do to really navigate that is work with, we have a representative at Kern County Department of Public Health in regards to the procedures of contact tracing, and to ensure that anybody that had contact, whether that is 20 minutes within 6 feet and things like that, is notified, and then we kind of go from there. So
And schoolwork will be given how?
Schoolwork given.
schoolwork.
Schoolwork given,
Correct.
okay.
100%.
And
Awesome.
that's similar to how we would do it as well. Public health, we work in conjunction with public health. And I'm sure I'm not going out on a limb to offer up some assistance from our public health if the need arises. But I understand you work with Kern County Public
Very
Health.
closely.
But if it's a rapid need, I know the boss wouldn't mind for our public health to get involved as well.
I appreciate it.
So a related question came in for you, and we'll talk within our scope of responsibility because we can't speak for the other groups out there, and we sure can't speak for the wing commander in every case. But he's watching, so he can answer if he wants to as well. Will leadership support keeping our kids home if they're sick? And I think by support, meaning if, say
Telework.
like me, I have a dual income household. Some defenders, some maintainers, it's not as convenient for them if they have a dual income household. How do you see that playing out, say, for our defenders? Because that's probably the most complicated area.
Yeah, that is a complicated question. So if there's no parent or no spouse at home that can take care of the child, if they have a job too, like in my case, my wife works as well. So if one of mine gets sick, who can stay home? So I'm fortunate that mine can work from home and telework. So I know that could be solved in that way. I would say for our folks, absolutely, right? We would, case by case, take a look at what your circumstances are, and you're the primary caregiver, no one else at home to take care of, what else are you going to do? you got to stay home and take care of your kid, because we definitely, again, don't want you to, well, I got no childcare, I'm going to bring them to school, right? That just makes the matters worse. We'll figure it out on the back end. Now, that's my stance that I would take for the mission support group. I'm not going to, like Chief said,
Right,
I'm
yeah,
not
we
going to
can't do
speak for
that.
the entire wing. I would almost guess, though, that they would be right in line, because, I mean, what else would you do?
We just don't need them waiting for us out in the parking lot when we walk out.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we're not doing any of that right now. That's not going to happen. One more question, kind of on the subject. I think this is an overall policy for one of you. Is, are parents allowed to request vaccinated teachers? Teachers who we know are vaccinated, or are parents allowed to request their kids attend those classes in particular?
No, and here's why. You can make let me say this. You can make a request for a teacher for any reason that you want, but related to their specific health, HIPAA does not allow me to know their health conditions.
Absolutely.
So I can't go out and publicize to you who has been vaccinated or not. So specific to that question, that would be an absolute hard no. But if you just really love Mrs. Smith, you let us know. We always do everything we can to get you into Mrs. Smith's class.
Well, and an unrelated, well, a completely related thing that I think kind of bends around those rules and gives security, and we do the similar thing on bases. Are we allowed to give out non-HIPAA type information, like how many teachers have been vaccinated? Not which teachers, but what percentage of teachers within the district do we know that are vaccinated? Do we know that information? Are we allowed to publicize that information?
What we can do is we can always ask the teachers anonymously, and we can give you however many give it back to us. I'm trying to make this a soundbite, Chief. We did everything we could last year. We allowed Adventist Health come down. They utilized Boron High School every single week, and we released our people to go down from work and go get vaccinated. We allowed students and the community. We did everything that we possibly could, and every time that we heard about a place, a location that was doing vaccines, we mass communicated that out to our folks. I can tell you this, our teachers by and large, I would say are vaccinated. Just listening to them and knowing how concerned that they are for the welfare of students, for themselves, and for their own families. So I don't even want to venture a guess, but if I were to throw something out there, it's a higher percentage than what most people
I think it's
might
a fairly
fear.
safe answer. And
It
to
really
back
is.
you, we had the same legal issues talking about DOD civilians. And it's a very sharp edge to be walking on what you can ask, what you can't ask.
Yep.
And to back your answer, yes, we have to do it voluntarily as well.
Absolutely.
For
It'd be
the moment.
anonymous,
And
and
there's
We're a little bit different for the
no
moment.
requirement for teachers to be,
right now there is
right
no
now, there's
requirement
no
that you
requirement.
must.
Okay.
Until that requirement happens, they can't.
That's
Not gonna be able to. So let's take a break from vaccines for just a second, because these are pretty important. Will school lunch be offered, and how do we sign our children up? What's the cost?
Yes,
I was like, I know it's one of you
we
two.
always offer school lunch.
Yes.
We will
Of course you do.
never stop. It is on the opening day packet. It's on the website. The cost has not changed from last year. I highly, highly encourage every family to please go online and apply for the free and reduced meal application. One of the great things, especially for the active duty living on base, your housing allowance, unless something has changed, and I don't believe it has, your housing allowance does not actually count towards your income. So what that means is you're actually much more likely to qualify for free reduced lunch. And if you're already going to be having your student eat lunch, why not get it cheaper? And the great thing is for free and reduced lunch, it does two things for the district. One, we receive backfill money from the federal government, and we are always happy to get the federal government to pay us more money so that the families get to pay less. And two, the way the state funding mechanisms work, we actually receive additional funding for every student that's identified as free and reduced. One of the things that comes up very often, people are concerned about the confidentiality about free and reduced. The easiest way to say it is this. If we accidentally gave out the social security numbers of every employee publicly, we would get in less trouble than if we gave out the free and reduced status of students. It is one of the most protected pieces of information we have in the district. We don't even allow our principals to have access to that information.
I don't have access to it.
Superintendent does not have access. So yes, we will have them. The pricing's online. Highly, highly encourage everyone apply for free and reduced meals. You'll never know if you do or don't qualify. And we'll post, I think meal plans are getting posted if they aren't already.
Another non-COVID related question that I should probably ask, because if I don't, I'll probably get in trouble. Do you anticipate having an active PTA to the school this year? If so, where can parents sign up for that? And with the year coming up and us having how we've been and the plans for the future and hybrid maybe not, how do we encourage parents to sign up for PTA?
So I'll start here. We are looking on Edwards more than elsewhere to look to sort of reduce the capacity. What we have found over the years, sadly, due to the military lifestyle, we tend to have families come and go. That's kind of the normal rotation here at Edwards. What happens is we actually find there's a lack of continuity. And in California, which is a bit different than other states, we actually have a lot more parent involvement and mandated councils than other states have. So every school has a school site council. Parents can be part of that. We want parents to be part of that. To be honest, we struggle to get enough parents to be part of that. Additionally, we have found, a little bit less this last year, but in most years, we have found parents have fundraiser fatigue. They are really tired of buying cookie dough 4 times in 1 month. They want to buy cookie dough once. We have at the sites, and every site has an ASB. Now at the high school, it's a more structured ASB run by students. At the elementaries, they still have an ASB, and all fundraising can easily go through there. Parents can give feedback. So there's a lot of other opportunities. And sadly, one thing we have found, because PTOs and PTAs aren't part of the district, through COVID, sadly, we found a lot of misinformation was spread there. And sometimes it was just absolutely incorrect, like tomorrow they're taking every kid out to get vaccinated. That didn't come out, that specific thing, but sometimes there were just really outlandish statements. And we couldn't respond, we're not part of that. And it spread for a while until we could get a hold of someone and say, hey, that's really crazy, that's not normal. So we're not doing that. So there are these. We really encourage parents to be involved those ways. Things like the school site council have a much more active role in how the school operates than a PTA would ever have, or a PTO. So that's really where we're pushing and encouraging. We'll always monitor and see, but we highly encourage parents to get involved that way. The other thing we're doing this year, I would say it's going to be pretty restricted because we are still in COVID and we do have a Delta variant. For parents that want to be on base and be on schools and work with their kids, we are looking to centralize a volunteer program. We are asking them to be fingerprinted. One of the things we've seen through news articles is there's always a risk of someone who maybe really ought not be around kids that wants to be around kids and goes through. So every volunteer has to be fingerprinted. That way we know for sure, in the event they just happen to be in a classroom for a minute or two alone, they are safe to be with those students, and we've vetted them and we've checked them. I think that hits it all. I won't go any longer, so we're
No, I
just
think you're
short.
good.
It's a minimal amount. They also get reimbursed after they do 50 hours of time. I think the heart of the question is, how do I get involved and how can I be a part of the school? We have 3 principals that are very, very, very open people and want to meet with parents and want them to be involved. And that school site council and those types of committees are the greatest places to do it. We're still going to have events and we're still going to need parental help. These 3 gentlemen are going to be reaching out and saying, we're going to have this event and we could really use help, and there's still going to be plenty of ways for parents to be involved and help kind of guide the way that programs or extracurricular things are offered on the school site.
And real quick, final soundbite. We want parents involved. We want more parents involved. We very often are begging, pleading, bribing with food. So don't take any of that to say we're trying to push you away. We want you more involved. We don't want you operating in just over here. We want you part of the school. And while things like volunteering might be restricted, those school site councils will be running. So please come to them. We want more information. We want more feedback.
Sir, I have quite a few more, but did you have any pressing? Because I know you brought some in that were pressing if we haven't covered them.
No, we answered most of the ones that I had, but Kevin did allude to, we have 2 new principals. So if you don't mind just giving your perspective on parent involvement and any other sound bites that you might want to get out before we don't get questions that involve you.
So for parent involvement, I've been in education for 25 years. And the one thing I can tell you, whether as a teacher or as an administrator, I need the parents. I need to know that we're on the same team and we're trying to do everything we can to educate their students. And at the secondary level, it's not just educating their students, it's educating their students and preparing them for beyond high school. And so their involvement is critical to what we do. And I find different ways to do it. We've done coffee with the principal before. We have a school site council, of course. And so I will be opening as many doors as I can. And the other thing is I have an open door policy. If I'm not in an IEP, if I'm not in a classroom doing something and a parent comes into the front and I'm available to speak to them, I'm going to speak to them right there and then, and whether it's that way or by phone or by email. So I'm going to want to be available. So that would be my parent involvement soundbite.
And Mr. Campbell has also brought an institution of knowledge with him, with some other staffing that we're going to introduce on videos coming up, on our videos.
Yeah.
But we are going to be implementing programs starting this year that exist in only a handful of places in the United States. And our new construction at Desert High School is built in for that. So we've actually reconfigured construction around these programs that we're bringing in. So an airframe and power plant program, for example,
Yeah.
that does not exist but in 2 or 3 places in the world or in the United States, we will have here at Edwards now.
Yeah, it's awesome
And we have
stuff.
signed agreements where we can go and do job shadowing now,
Yep.
and things that we've always said we want to do, and we've been trying to get there. It is not to say anything disparaging about Dr. Elms and all of his years. I think the stars just kind of aligned, and we've got Mr. Campbell on board and some other good folks. New construction's wrapping up. Desert High School will open up 1 year from today in its brand new capacity in its new facility. So anyway, with that, just know that there's things that are starting right now that are brand new and very exciting.
Awesome. Mr. Spitzer?
All right, so parent involvement is really, really huge. For students to be successful, it's not only about the student and the teacher, but also the parent involvement. We've got a Meet the Bears event coming up on Monday and Tuesday, where I'm inviting all the parents out to tour the school and get to meet me. So that's one thing we're doing to involve the parents. Also want to get the school sites council up and running. I would love to do something like coffee with the principal, or even coffee with the principals. I threw this idea out to Mr. Campbell and Mr. Sirks that maybe every now and then all 3 principals could get together and interact with the parents. I'm now running the Facebook for William A. Bailey Elementary School. So if you've been following the page, you've probably seen how active it's been. So I'm on there interacting with parents, and I'd love to interact with you, and I'd love to hear from you. And I'm here to support the students, and not only that, but support the families. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Mr. Sirks?
We love parent involvement as well. We all do. And we'll be reaching out to you for help with events and anything else, and any volunteer opportunities through Facebook, our website, through our weekly phone calls home, through our videos. We definitely want you involved in the school, and we really appreciate you being part of the school. It's how we do what we do. That's how we educate students, is we need your help. And so thank you very much. And if you need anything, just give us a call.
All right, what you got in rapid succession? Any big questions that we haven't gotten to?
Oh, rapid succession. Do we plan on bringing back part day enrichment for the CDC? That's an easy question. Kind of.
Right now, because of our wait list, and we're also having some staffing challenges. Part day, we cannot have part day enrichment until we get our wait list cleared off.
Okay, so the answer is no. Part day enrichment, not right now.
Not right now, but we're looking to do that in the future. We actually are working towards that.
But looking to do it in the future. So staffing issues, still got a long wait list to get through before we can offer something like that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I had a couple questions to back, and I think that just needs to be probably readdressed in a different kind of way.
Okay.
They were saying with the California rules, you have to be masked up when you're indoors in a room all the time, unless you know the people in that room with you are vaccinated.
No. So if you're a student, you must be masked up indoors at all times regardless, unless the one caveat is a lunch room. So you've got to be able to eat food. In those cases, we spread the kids out further apart. The other is for adults. And then outside, students can take their masks off. So inside, always masks on.
Copy.
Okay, adults, always masks on inside unless there are no students present. We still follow the same kind of, we've kind of have this expectation of honesty, which is if you're vaccinated, go ahead and take it off, and if you haven't been, keep your mask on at all times.
Right.
So let me clarify with that piece. But again, due to HIPAA, we don't go around and point at you and ask specifically. We just go on the honor system. But anytime that an adult would be in a enclosed environment with any child, their mask goes on as well. Once they're outdoors, they may take their mask off outdoors. So outdoors for everybody, off. Indoors, everybody on. Adults, if there's no children, they can take them off.
If vaccinated.
If vaccinated
vaccinated.
and no kids around.
And if
Okay.
a student or an adult, you want to be masked outside,
All
that's
day.
perfectly okay.
Yeah.
There's no expectation that you shall remove your mask.
Right.
So if your student feels safer with their mask on, they can keep their mask on, no shame, no problem.
And our principals will be making a big push on that. They're gonna be the lead effort on ensuring that this does not become a topic of bullying or ridiculing anybody. What you choose to, if you choose to wear a mask at all times, we support you in that, and we're behind you 100%. So we won't tolerate anybody that's gonna, and we didn't see it last year. I gotta say, I didn't receive one, at least I didn't receive one report where someone was being teased or mocked or made fun of because they chose to wear a mask, and then we were requiring them at all times anyway.
Let me know, because I can almost guarantee mine will be one of those ones that wears a mask all the time.
Yeah.
So another serious question that probably needs to be answered in this forum because it crosses over more than what the question asks is how are parents and students notified if someone in their activity or their room pops positive for COVID? They specifically stated that a high school student that's part of sports showed up as positive for COVID, and they didn't know about it. They were not officially notified. They found out through unofficial channels. So how are they supposed to find, how are parents and fellow students supposed to find out, hey, you're in this environment, you play this sport, you do this extracurricular, or you're in this classroom and someone goes positive? And I would imagine that goes through contact tracing and that kind of thing. But I'll let you answer that.
Correct. So in regards to our policies and procedures in that regards, once we have a confirmed positive, we go right to California Department of Public Health. We work with them as well as we start individually notifying all families. Where obviously in regards to FERPA and HIPAA, we can't say the name and things like that. However, we can indicate that in regards to the requirements where students were 6 feet and 20 minutes, that we do have a confirmed positive and you're considered a close contact. What we'll go ahead from there too is kind of work our way down the list in that regards. And as Kevin and everybody has mentioned, is we can always offer a rapid test to really kind of confirm or deny in that regards. And usually,
I believe the fear here would be our kids play an extracurricular sport together, they're outside a lot, and maybe clarifying those particular rules of, hey, when we went through contact tracing, your son or daughter may or may not have been within close contact for 20 minutes. And because you're outside, they factored that in and decided you weren't somebody, some of that nature.
yes.
Yes.
Yep.
So I'm just going to address that one directly real quick, Chief. So what we have is a situation where a student wasn't feeling well, wound up testing positive, and we just found out about it. And parents should have been notified quicker. And so that becomes a personnel issue. And we've counseled with the adult that should have reported that a little quicker so that we could get that down the road. So what we have done now is we've now engaged, and Mrs. Tan is reaching out one by one to everybody on that team. So that team becomes a cohort in and of itself. They've been around each other. So you start to look at who was within 6 feet of each other for longer than 20 minutes in a 24-hour period. And that, whether you're indoors or outdoors. And we begin notifying people. So what we found was we had about a 36-hour delay on where we really should have been. And so that is not acceptable, and we've addressed it, and we wouldn't anticipate to see a repeat on that, but we are humans and we do the best we can. Sometimes we err.
Anything else coming up? We got real short, maybe 1-2 questions, and then a wrap up.
Nothing short, sir, no.
No?
No.
Okay.
But they are still rolling in, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll answer one big one that was given to me because it was given to me ahead of time. and this is probably on everybody's mind as you see the new Delta variant causing more and more outbreaks. With the potential of us going into a higher HPCon, what happens then when in regards to school, but also CDC and school age annex? Because if you recall, when we were in HPCon Bravo, we were in COVID capacity limits. We had done that. So I'll try to answer this as best as possible. The commander will have options. Right? There is no, unless it comes out that we have to restrict capacity to a certain level based on our HPCon, because that wasn't there before, or it's not there as a set rule that, hey, we're in a higher HPCon, you have to restrict your capacity to X, Y, Z. The commander will have options unless it's dictated otherwise from higher DoD guidance or state guidance as to capacity and how many people we want to be around. So will we revert to mission essential or mission critical? That depends. That depends on what options the commander needs to take. How bad is it that we're going to HPCon Bravo or Charlie? Depends on the outbreak. So there's a lot of variables that the boss would have to weigh to determine which measures he actually wants to put in place, i.e. visitors, right? We all had to get our folks a visitor's pass through our commanders in HPCon Bravo. Does he go back to that? That's an option. So it really just depends on how, and it just depends on how strictly locked down does the boss want to go and how many different measures he wants to put in place. So I can't really say for sure, right, that you will lose access if you're not mission critical or mission essential. I will say stand by, and if we get to that point, hopefully we won't, knock on wood, hopefully we won't, that we're getting to the mission essential, mission critical part. If everyone does their part and masks up when they're out and about, and we can keep the spread of the Delta variant and follow all the rules. And if you can get vaccinated and you want to, go get vaccinated. That helps as well. So
I will say we've been in several meetings where we've heard as long as we remain the relative green in the sea of red, because a lot of other bases are already going back to Bravo, they're going back to Bravo Plus, and that's because of the base and how the base is testing out and the positive rates, within our subset of a community, so to speak. And we know we have lots of folks coming from off base that live off base. But just like at the beginning of this venture, we held strong for a very long time before it finally broke through.
We did very well.
I feel very confident and comfortable in saying that leadership in this space feels the same way, as long as we remain relatively green in the sea of red. But that requires us masking up. It requires those who can and are willing to get the vaccination, and to not be taking an unnecessary risk when you go to Disney and Vegas and all the other vacation spots that we go to. Don't take the unnecessary risk, but take precautions and rightful precautions to do so.
Right.
The looser we are in our discipline, the quicker we will go back to Bravo.
And that will have an effect towards the schools, right? And I imagine as California gets higher and higher in the positive rate, then other guidance will come down. We might have to go back to the purple and the purple tiers, and then you might get restrictions that way. But as of right now, our going to an HPCon should not have an effect on what you do.
No.
So the schools shouldn't be affected in that capacity, and our school age annex and CDCs, that will depend on any higher guidance or what options we need to take depending on where the outbreak is. There's lots of different options that the commander has at his disposal, and obviously a lot of folks will help advise him on what decisions we need to make in that regard. So that was a question that I had coming in here. Hopefully that answered it. Chief, did you get one more that is hot burning? Or?
No, sir. We're good.
Okay. So I'd like to really quickly, rapid questions. Sports go, yes?
Sports go, yes.
Okay.
Schedules are out.
Schedules are
Students
out.
are competing because of this new breakout with the football team. We did postpone the first game. We've canceled that game.
Okay.
There's no way that we'll be able to meet the minimal practice requirements
Yeah.
for it, but sports on.
Awesome. And that's, I'm sure, great news for parents out there that you can get your kids involved. Keeping in mind, right? We still got to stay safe. So if people pop positive and it takes down the whole team, that's going to have an effect. And we see that in sports, nationwide, that's happening. Heck, we see it in the Olympics and everything. So great. Any parting words? Rapid succession. Mr. Campbell.
Scorpion Days next Wednesday and Thursday. Pretty
Yes,
much
thank
starting
you.
at 8:30 in the morning. We got 7th, 8th, and 9th graders on Wednesday, and on Thursday we have actually reversed 12th, 11th, and 10th graders. We're basically running 8:30 to pretty much 2 or 3 o'clock every day. We'll be giving out maps to the school. We'll be giving out information on Parent Portal. As much information as we can get into the hands of the parents and the kids to get them ready for that first day of school. So.
Awesome. Thank
All
you.
right. Well, I had 7 things, but to keep Chief happy, I will just do 2.
Appreciate that.
First, foremost, it does sound like there might be more questions. What we can do before our first video, we'll release a pseudo survey to see if we can catch maybe some of the trending topics. As always, on our surveys, we won't necessarily hit every question, but we'll use it as a way to see what folks are asking. Second, and I don't think it can be said enough, so I'll say it again. When we came back in spring, we did very well. People were very responsible, mindful, respectful, and we got through without having to close. Please, absolutely do that again. Help us. If your kid's sick or you're sick, just stay home. It can be a pain. We'll work through it, but don't. If every person just does their little part, it lets us keep running as a district, and I think it's the best thing we can do. Is just everyone live your life and just be careful. And I think, at least from my personal stance, I think that's a great way to keep going. Just where we're here, let's live, let's be happy we're here, but just be mindful and be respectful of others.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was floored. I said this at our last town hall. I was floored at the respectful manner that students followed the rules. I really, especially at high school, I expected to have to fight against that a lot more than I did. Everybody did great. Please continue to do that. And be patient with us if you could. And remember that as we came into COVID, we always talked about there was no playbook for this. This had never happened. It was unprecedented, and we hate that word because we way overused it. But now as we're kind of in this strange transition of leaving that, but at the same time we have the Delta variant that's there, that's looming overhead. Again, there is no manual for this. So a lot of times we are calling an audible, and we will make constant adjustments. And sometimes we will get to make the decisions on that, but more times than not, it is because we're married to the county of Kern, and metrics have triggered certain things that require us to make adjustments, or the state of California, or even the United States have made some sort of legal adjustments or mandates that we must follow. The one thing we are is we're a government entity, and we follow the law. So whatever the law is, we will do that. And at the same time being as flexible and as mindful for students and families of Edwards. We love the families here, and we're here to support them.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. Mr. Spitzer, we'll go reverse order.
So see you guys at the Meet the Bears event on Monday and Tuesday. Follow our Facebook page, and I'm very happy to be your principal at William A. Bailey, and we're going to have an awesome year.
Awesome. Thank you.
Meet the Mustangs next Tuesday from 8 to 10. Come out, check out the new campus, especially new incoming 4th graders. We'd love to see you there, and looking forward to a great year.
I just have one thing to say that I don't think we touched on, but in regards to independent study, and if your student's on an IEP, please reach out to your site admins. In that regards, we can go ahead and schedule an IEP, and we can kind of discuss some options and things like that as well. The other thing is kind of Kevin and everybody, Trevor has mentioned and whatnot, but please continue to give us feedback, comment on those surveys. It really helps us prioritize and pivot and really know what you guys need and what you want. So that's kind of all I have to say.
Awesome. Chief?
Yes, sir. I have 2 things. One, if I don't say this, Latia is going to roll me in the parking lot. She literally wrote that right here. I will roll you in the parking. Effective Wednesday, August 11th, mask wear is mandatory for all students older than 2 years old. Correct? 2 and up. 2 and up.
In the
That's
CDC.
important to know, in the CDC. And so that's important to know. It's a change for us. There's reasoning behind that. We fought real hard to get it, to get that control to them to where they can make that decision on their own because they have that latitude and liberty. And before the Delta variant, I will press this hard, before the Delta variant, I was a big advocate of leave the mask off because my kid is in there and I want the nonverbal microexpression that comes along with words to be shown and to be learned at that age. Delta variant is different. It's highly communicable even if you have the vaccine, and it's much more communicable anyway. And so Delta is different. And so for this reason, it's a, hey, we know that face shields don't work without masks. We know that masks are really the only thing that's effective, more so on the expending part than the receiving part. But either way, both parties having it on makes a big difference. So even my child, who might kick and fuss a little bit about it, will need to wear his mask, and I will go through that with you, as I expect every parent to. But there's a reason for that, because Delta is different.
And that note is going to go out through a memo signed by our pediatric
Yes, sir.
doc on staff here at the Med Group as well, and that's going to go to all parents to let them know what the expectation is.
Already signed.
Awesome. Awesome. So if you haven't seen it, you should go look for it. It's on the website, and you should have it.
And secondly, and lastly, the only thing I would say is for folks to be patient, know what they're talking about before they talk about it. If they have a question, questions are great. And these fine folks that have to take these questions all the time, I got the easy part. I just have to read them. And I'm not even responsible for the answer. That's your part. So it's really easy on me. So be patient. Make sure that you know the questions that you're asking and you're researched on your own questions. Extract the emotion. No one on this stage, no one in this process has really taken a stance of this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it regardless of anything. It really is this is what we're doing, this is what we have to do for the good of everything and everyone. So I'd really like folks just to step back, think about it, think it through. We are green in the sea of red right now.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
And Colonel Harris, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this, but just a reminder, August 10th, 10 a.m., ribbon cutting for the new Bailey and Branch Elementary Schools.
Awesome.
So that is happening, and everyone's invited to come. If you'd like to be there, it'll be at the Branch Elementary complex itself, right out front. So you just go to where all the cars are parked.
Okay. August 10th, 10
10
a.m.
a.m., 10 at 10:10.
Awesome. All right. As always, I'd like to thank you guys, you and your staff, for showing up. It's a late night, and I appreciate our PA folks getting through the technical difficulties and staying a little bit later. This was supposed to be from 5 to 6, but we had a little bit of a gap there, so we held on a little bit longer to answer a lot more questions. Hopefully we got to the majority of your questions. I realize there's no way we can get through all of them. So as you have questions, you've met or seen all the folks up here that might have the answers. I also have in the audience some folks, and I thank you ladies for showing up tonight and being my phone a friend. We'll get through this. Just be patient, as everyone said. The Delta variant, as Chief said, is different, so things will ebb and flow and things might change on the fly. Be patient with our staff at the School Age Annex and the CDC as they work down the wait list. We realize everyone that comes here with kids probably needs care, and there's not many other options out there, and we're trying like crazy. So I'll put another plug in. If you're interested in working with kids, please stop by either School Age Annex or the CDC. We have positions, and see about applying with them. Other than that, we'll sign off. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, PA, and thanks to Kata 2.